Mike Krafick is with us this morning, the Armstrong, Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission, joining us this morning as we take a look at some activities for the weekend. We had Denise Liggett here yesterday talking about all kinds of things happening in and around Indiana County this weekend. Mike is with us to tell us about an event that's coming up this weekend as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I wanted to talk about our Recovery Respects First Responders event, which will be held on Sunday, September 29th at the Indiana County Courthouse, right on the front steps. So we've planned this event. We've done one like it in each of our three counties. So with Armstrong, Indiana, and Clarion counties, this is our third and final one. The idea behind this event is to recognize and acknowledge the work that first responders do with the opioid crisis. Mm-hmm. I hear time and time again from first responders that, some of the work that they do with reviving overdose survivors can be thankless work because individuals coming out of an overdose aren't always in the right state of mind to show their appreciation. So with this event, we want to show our appreciation, and we've invited people in long-term recovery, people that are overdose survivors themselves, to be able to provide some acknowledgement and actually provide the awards to the first responders.
Yeah, it's a great concept. What time?
It is at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. on the courthouse steps.
Yes.
And everybody can come.
Everybody can come. Everyone's welcome. We're going to have some food vendors. Like I said, we're going to recognize and acknowledge the first responders. And actually the turnout or the first responder nominations that we got for Indiana County is the largest of the three counties so far. So we're really excited about the turnout that we're getting so far from the first responder community. And we're also recognizing what we call recovery champions, individuals throughout the county that are dedicated to combating the opioid crisis. And most of these individuals aren't necessarily first responders, but they are policymakers or just somebody that's championing this effort in the community. So we're excited about that.
Yesterday, we talked to a gentleman from the State Attorney General's office who is going to be coming to talk to IUP nursing students about drug abuse within their work environment and how dangerous it is. It's a dangerous community, and for people to step into that community with the express purpose of helping people who are caught in drug abuse, it takes a really special person, doesn't it?
It really does. It's selfless work for sure. And what we've seen just across the state and nationwide is the effects of trauma or vicarious trauma on these first responders, because their job description and what they do on a day in and day out basis has really changed and evolved from, say, 2012 to today in 2019, to where we're seeing much higher volume of overdoses, both non-fatal and fatal overdoses. And especially in small communities, oftentimes these first responders know or are connected to the individuals that they're either rescuing or arriving on scene with not enough time to save that life. So that definitely has an impact on these individuals. So we want to make sure we let them know that we're thinking about them and we appreciate the work that they do.
There certainly has to be great stress as well, knowing that with the way the drug culture is right now, they need to protect themselves because they're in a very dangerous environment, not only with the person coming out, but just contact with some of the substances that are in common use now.
Right. Well, they need to use universal precautions with gloves and just making sure that the scene is safe. But, I've seen a lot of attention in the media and on the news about fentanyl exposure and how it can be absorbed through the skin. And there's actually some science that shows that it would be very, very difficult for it to be a contact overdose situation. So I want to make sure we're providing first responders and bystanders with accurate information about that issue, because the last thing I want is somebody to come across an overdose victim and decide, I don't want to help this person because I don't want to put myself at risk, because from what we've seen, it would take an awful lot of fentanyl in the air that somebody would be breathing in to get exposed.
So the event on Sunday, what's going to be happening?
So we're going to start off, we have some recovery speakers that are going to come out and share their experience with addiction and recovery, talk about how they overcame and battled their addiction and what their life is like in recovery now. I feel that's particularly important, especially for the first responders to see, because unfortunately what they see day in, day out are the people at that worst moment of their life. They're seeing people that are actively struggling and really at that hitting bottom point. When individuals find and sustain recovery, the first responders stop having to go to their house. So they don't get to see that individual that's been in recovery for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So we want to make sure we show them that there is hope, that the work that they're doing does pay off, and the lives that they're saving can be turned around and they can do amazing things. I know I'm a person in long-term recovery myself. I've survived multiple overdoses. I was hospitalized 5 different times for overdoses with heroin and other opioids. So this initiative and this project is particularly important to me, to be able to put a face on recovery and show not only first responders, but people in the community that people can and do recover.
I would guess that there's somebody there, a first responder, who is going to see somebody that they haven't seen since that terrible moment in their life when they brought them back, and it's just going to blow them away.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. We want to make sure, ideally, we would have that individual that was saved by that first responder be able to give that individual that award. If that lines up ideally, that would be fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think in most cases, it's just going to be somebody in recovery that's an overdose survivor presenting the award to another first responder. But wouldn't that be perfect if it lined up that way, that they could actually thank the person that saved their life and let them know a little bit about what they're doing now. Like in my case in particular, I have 2 small children that would not be here today if it was not for the work that first responders do and the quick action that they took to intervene and get me the medical treatment that I needed.
Amazing. We think of, obviously, the first line citizens ambulance personnel, and there are so many folks, and they're trained so well, and they get there and they do that job. But there are first responders who aren't necessarily as highly trained as an ambulance personnel or as an EMS attendant.
Sure, absolutely. We have quite a few nominations from Pennsylvania State Police, also Indiana Borough Police Department, Blairsville Police Department, Homer City. The Armstrong, Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission has an initiative with first responder agencies like police, EMS, and also fire, volunteer firefighters, to be able to provide that department access to naloxone at no cost to them. So that's how we've really developed these relationships with these first responder agencies over the years. And we do see, particularly with police and fire, some of these activities are outside of what their normal job looked like 10, 15, 20 years ago. But, just from the conversations that I had, in particular with police and firemen that have participated and saved a life, it is rewarding. And it can be even more rewarding to see sort of the fruits of your labor, if you will, to see that individual thriving and doing well in the community. An
amazing event, it sounds like, coming up on Sunday.
We're excited.
Give the details again.
Okay, so it is Sunday, September 29th, from 2 to 5 p.m. over here at the courthouse right across the street from where we're at now. Like I said, we're going to have recovery speakers, we will have food vendors, and we're going to recognize and celebrate the work that first responders and our recovery champions do for Indiana County.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful event. Mike, thanks for coming in to tell us all about it.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160, 101.1 FM.